afternoon, Nigerians. You are welcome to Nstv Lagos and welcome to Outlook on Nstv with Oluwatomisin Olatayo, aka Momsi Princess Naomi. The story has been in series where she has been talking about her early childhood, early adulthood, and her pregnancy and her impairments. Let's listen to her as she continues with her odyssey. But before you listen to her, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Nigerians on our victory in the current ongoing AFCON Nations Cup. We wish the Super Eagles more success as they look forward to the final of the tournament. Naomi, you're on.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon once again to our viewers. After my impairment in 2009, precisely February 2009, February 14, so my impairment in a couple of days from now will be around 15 years? 15 or 14 years. Oh, okay, I think 14. Around 14 is the number. So I came back home. The whole family was distraught, especially my mom, who has single-handedly raised me for a very long time through that period, and hoping that one day she would sit down and enjoy the fruit of her labor. And then the future looked very bleak. We were not seeing forward. We didn't even know what to do. We didn't have any information as to how to handle a visually impaired child. But I had it at the back of my mind at the time that I wanted to go to school. And so I really did not know how it was going to happen, but it was something that I was sure was going to happen. So I requested for a change of environment because the impairment happened, and people had their own perspectives of what happened. Some people will feel like, oh, what has our mom done that has brought the curse on her? I lost friends. My mom lost friends. She almost lost her marriage in that ordeal as well. So a change of environment was something that would help my healing process and help me re-strategize how my life was going to continue. And so I relocated to Ilaro, where my maternal grandfather stays. And while I was there, there is this secondary school, that's Yewa College. A friend of my dad teaches in that school. And so my grandpa took out time to go look for him to say, okay, so Yewa College accepts visually impaired students. It's an inclusive secondary school in Ogun State. So the plan back then was for me to start up maybe in SS1, which I had finished even before my impairment. I've been through secondary school even before my impairment, like I said the last time.
And you've had your West African Examination?
Yes, exactly. I did that as a science student,
Okay.
but the impairment came and I could no longer do sciences. I had to opt for an art course. So when we found this man, he said, okay, if I don't want to go back to secondary school, because I looked at this, I'm like, that would really make me depressed. So if there are other things that could be done without me going to start up from senior secondary school 1 and all of that. So there's this rehabilitation center for blind and partially sighted persons. It's owned by the federal government, and I think that's the only one that we still have now, which is owned by the federal government. I know a lot of states are doing similar, but that's the only one we have. And then he said,
the only one for federal government?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the Nigerian Farmcraft Center for the Blind.
Okay, that's...
It's a private school. It's a Catholic owned school.
Okay.
That's the Bacheli School for the Blind. It's a private school. So I was older they said they wouldn't admit me because I was older. I was already in my teens, in my late teens at the time. So, and this federal government institution, nominations come from states across the federation. So we tried to see if I could come in through Ogun State. It was filled up. Lagos was over filled up. So my mom had to travel to Osho State to get a recommendation letter for me. luckily they had one more slot left, and so they filled my name for that one more slot. And in 2010 January, I resumed in that school to get rehabilitated as a blind person. There I learned how to read and write, the use of braille, the use of typewriter, make home care products such as the liquid soap, air freshener, insecticide, germicides, and the likes. I also learned how to do the tie and dye adire. Those were part of the crafts we were being taught at the school. Independence, mobility, orientation, and independence was also something else they taught us, because as a visually impaired person, you have to be rehabilitated to be able to walk alone, to be able to do certain things alone without the eyesight, even if not totally independent, but to a level of independence. So after the school, I came back to Ilaro, and then I heard of the Southwest Resource Center, where I could learn at Okemoson, where I could learn the use of computer. So I went in there, and I did about 4 weeks to learn basic computer usage. And thanks to an uncle of mine who is late now, I got my first laptop then, so it was easy for me to keep practicing, go online, ask from friends who have been experienced in that field. And so I perfected my computer skills. And that same 2011 now, after because the farmcraft thing was a year. So in 2011, after my resource center, I put in for GCE. The first one, I didn't make all my papers. I didn't even have literature, and I wanted to do mass communication at the time. So I had to resit for another one, and I got it. I sat for JAM. I didn't make my university, which at the time wanted 200 and above. I had 189, so I had to settle in for the Polytechnic, which was of my choice, and that's the Moshood Abiola Polytechnic. I went in for my OND. Quite a few discriminations, because I remember when I wanted to get my post-UTME form, someone there and then told me that I should go to a school where they accept my kind, that Mapoli does not accept people like me. I should go to a school where, and I've heard of visually impaired persons before me who are either students or have graduated from Mapoli. I've heard quite a few number of them. So I knew what I wanted. So I told the person, I said, well, they may not be, putting it out there that they are an inclusive school, but we can always work together to ensure that I graduate. And so I put in for my OND, did that, came back for my HND, did that as well. I missed all the struggles, because it's quite a lot, a school that originally is not an inclusive school. What the staff and lecturers and every other person can just do is to manage the situation, since they have a visually impaired student. But it's not always as easy as it seems. For one, Ojeri does not even have an hostel. That's Mapoli does not have an hostel. So it means that I live off campus, and then struggle to get taxi, buses to get you to school. When you are coming back, a lot of people are waiting already at the bus shed. It's quite a whole lot of struggle. You queue to pay for any and everything. Even the finances then, getting this money to really go to school. I had to depend on my mom for everything. And she was really there. She came through at those times. And I know when I would call her and say, they're about to close my portal, blah, 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 blah. And then she would go all out to source for funds, having to deal with inaccessibility. And you have textbooks that me as a visually impaired person, I cannot read. And so I remember there was a time I spoke with some lecturers to say, okay, these textbooks, can we just have them in soft copies? And they say they do not sell soft copies because of piracy and the rest of that. And that was also another issue. It means that when I buy the printed material, I have to take it to maybe a cafe, because I do not have a scanner to help me scan it. Or I get a reader, maybe I get a friend of mine who will sit down and read from chapters to chapter. And that's so much stress. Sometimes I have to even, get to pay these people to ensure that they stay, because Looking at the textbooks is huge. You have some textbooks that are like 30 chapters, 20 chapters, 100 and something pages, and you want somebody to read it for you while you record. It means that the person must really, and to the glory of God, I got quite a few good friends. Friends who would always be there, who would help me during exams, who would read together for my assignments. They will ensure that, you know, I'm carried along for practicals. You know, they will ensure that I'm placed in groups that, you know, the group leader will not just dismiss me. And a lot of these things, you know, my voice were heard. I remember we did a project in broadcasting. I missed everybody. I didn't even know I could do it. You know, that was my first time trying to voice for a documentary. And we were like 10 in that group. And, you know, for them, they felt like, Tomisin, you can do it. And of course we did it. I remember we did another project in advertising where we picked Union Bank as our, you know, as our
clients or something.
client. And I was right there in the documentary. You know, I played until today. Some people do not really know my name. It's from that documentary. It's Aisha. So it was really a time that people gave me opportunities. People were willing to allow me. I remember when I'll come to class, you know, a class of over 1,000 people, over 1,000 students. There are no seats. Everybody, some people are standing by the window, some people are, you know, outside, some people. So for me, it was struggling to get a seat. And I remember that at some point my class had to say, there should be a seat for me. I brought in this plastic chair, and they wouldn't even allow people sit on it in my absence. They'll be like, no, that chair is for Tomisin. So it was quite a whole lot of love from my classmates, from my lecturers, the non-academic staff. Of course, you would always meet obstructions at some time, but most of the time it was always very smooth, and yeah, I was willing to go all the way. And so when I finished at Mapoli, I went for my youth service at Sokoto. That was where I was posted to for the National Youth Service. I would have stayed, but my mom was like, she kept calling every member of the family that, if she stays there and you people hear that I'm dead, she's the one who killed me. Oh. So, I mean, because of my impairment, my disability, my relocation was instant. Immediately I showed interest in leaving. They approved it, and I had to.
Went for the 3 weeks.
I went for the 3 weeks orientation. In fact, immediately they approved it, they wanted me to leave. You know, but I wanted that experience of the orientation camp, and so I begged, I pleaded, I cajoled for them to allow me stay. So I relocated to Ibadan after the 3 weeks orientation.
Okay, viewers at home, that's Outlook on Nstv with Idris Odanide and our guest, Oluwatomisin Olatoye, Mommy Princess Naomi, for this week. We'll continue with the series next week. I remain your regular host, Idris Odanide. Thank you for being there for us. Goodbye.